welcome to another bonus interview for the Planning Posse. I am so excited to introduce you to Sarah Elizabeth Lahoud. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right.
It's Lahoud, like a hood on your head. But
Awesome. I apologize. I did not get that right.
That's okay. It's the hardest name. It's the hardest.
I'm not good with names. I apologize. But yeah, so Sarah Elizabeth is just a powerhouse, and I'm so excited to be able to share with you this interview with all of you today and this month. And oh my gosh, so without further ado, let's get started. So Sarah, tell us a little bit about who you are and who you serve.
Sure, of course. So, unfortunately, you got my name wrong. I'm just
Sorry.
kidding. So, my name is Sarah Elizabeth Lahoud, and I always say like a hood on your head, and I do this motion, so it's really awkward. And I'm a business coach, and I specialize in technology and epic content strategy, and I basically help creative entrepreneurs start and grow their dream business with creative marketing.
Nice. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds right up our alley.
Awesome.
Yes. So this interview is all about really figuring out, how to really make the most of our time. And sometimes we, for years, end up floundering before we really figure it out. So Tell us your experience that you've had with planning in the past and, what you've tried and what other experiences that you've had have been.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like I should say before I do this that I was that person in like high school, like actually elementary school, like forever, that would, not do stuff until it was due. So like, do you know what I mean? I remember being in like the 4th grade and my parents came in and I was like super proud that I'd done this like project and I thought it was really good. And they go, Sarah, did you just finish that? Or excuse me, they said, did you just start it? And I was like, yeah, like why should I have started it earlier? I'd had it for 3 weeks and they didn't think it was good enough that I had like only done it, in a short period of time. So like I've always been that person. And so the reason that I changed was because I went into tech. So like I have like a billion humanities degrees. And I would like finish my thesis. Like I plan it so that I could finish my thesis like an hour before, because how much time you need actually to get stuff done. You kind of like inherently know, especially with stuff you've done before.
Yeah.
So like with writing and stuff, I've done it before, so I knew how much time I really needed. But going into tech, it was like a totally new ballgame, and so I didn't really know how much time I really needed. So there was this like one project, and I'm sorry to go back to school, but it's so relevant because there was this one project. It was my first tech project, and it was very complicated. It doesn't really matter what it was, but there was stages that it needed to go through, and the stages that they need to go through were basically all you needed to turn it in. So there was a creative element, it was like a composition and stuff, and then you had to put it through different formats in order to actually turn it in. Mm-hmm. And so I waited to the last minute to do the creative part because that was completely reliant on me, and I didn't really think about how I was going to be dependent on the technology. So I ended up I almost didn't get the project in on time. And I had a complete panic attack, as you do when you realize that you didn't plan properly and didn't get stuff done and you beat yourself up or whatever. And I completely freaked out. And what was so terrible was that I was with a bunch of men, and I work with men now, and I realize now that you can't freak out in front of men because they don't know what to do with it. But I didn't realize that at the time. So I was like, oh my gosh, everything's failing. And, I was really mad at myself or whatever. And the guys kind of were like, Sarah, get your shit together. You need to get your shit together and turn it in. So anyway, so I learned my lesson and I never did that again. And it was largely the first time that I'd ever had to do something, any kind of project, where I was doing something that I wasn't familiar with. And so I just didn't know how much time it was going to take to get it done. And so the biggest lesson that I've learned, I say it to my clients all the time, that tech's going to take longer than you think. But really what's going on is that you need to break down what you're doing, the project, all the elements of it, so that you can know how much time it's going to take. And that's the biggest lesson I ever learned. So it's beyond tech, really. It's knowing what you need to do in order to plan for it.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely agree. Well, and that's something, I have a book called The Year in Reverse, where we basically say, okay, by the end of the year, what do I want to have accomplished? And we literally reverse engineer it and break it down into bite-sized chunks. Yeah, so it's perfect that you said that. Absolutely. Yeah, and I love that you shared with us kind of a pivotal moment, if you will, because that's actually the next question is, what's a pivotal experience that you had that, both in your life and your business, and it sounds to me like that was a pivotal experience in both your life and your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I always wanted to go into the more because I'm a very like creative, performance oriented person, but like there's
Right.
so much that goes into a performance beyond the creative part.
Yeah.
So I really went to tech school because I wanted to know how to do that stuff with some sort of authority. And so I just wasn't used to, and it's the same for business because as you
Yeah.
say, it's like, it's not just content creation,
Yeah.
there's people depending on you. So that's a
Mm.
whole other element, but there's also, the marketing and the strategy and the technology and the, big goals and the small goals and the contracts and all this other stuff. And so it's like a totally new ball game when you realize that it's not just dependent on you and your ideas.
Yeah. So what was your process for actually kind of sitting and going, oh shit is hitting the fan, and this is not okay with me. Like, what did you go through, and how did you kind of? Let me see.
Yeah.
Because it's totally off script, but
Go for
what
it.
did you go through, and kind of the mindset shifts that you had to take when you said, okay, this is not working, shit is hitting the fan, I have got to find a way to make all these pieces that I have fit into some sort of routine or plan
Yeah.
or strategy in order for me to actually get shit done.
Yeah. Do you mean in that particular project, or do you mean in like my business life in general?
Well, kind of in general, because it sounds to me
Yeah.
that pivotal experience really caused you to say, "Oh my God, wait a minute," and really start
Yeah.
to look at it like, I really need to figure out how to get shit done, in a
Yeah,
way that
absolutely.
will actually work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I basically, and I do this like in more of a vague sense, but like for example, I basically do what you just said. I would figure out what like kind of the end result is and then break it down very, very simply. So
Nice.
like for like an example, something I'm working on right now is sort of a film project for marketing. And so like I kind of have an idea of what I want it to look like. So the process that I use is I brainstorm, the creative, the fun parts,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm feeling creative and fun, and recognize what needs to go into that, and I'll just break it down. So I always ask the question, in order to do this, what needs to happen? So it might be something
Nice.
like, I want to book out my program, this month. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
order to do that, I need to teach 10 webinars. And in order to teach a webinar, I need to like brainstorm it and set up the tech of it and market it. And in order to do each of those things, and so you keep going down and down and down until you literally, so like I think of it like a pyramid.
Yes.
And so at the bottom of the pyramid is all these very, very simple tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's to give you like a map of like what needs to be done, so that you can have a better sense of like how much time each section is going to take, because you really won't know until you really acknowledge what needs to happen. And the other thing about that is that I do it because, and I tell this to my clients all the time, is like, there are times when you feel creative and inspired.
Yeah.
And there's times when you just don't want to show up. And so if you have that like list of really simple tasks at the bottom of the pyramid, you can do them even when you don't want to do them.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to think. The tasks will be so simple. They'll be like, put button on sales page.
Right?
You
Yes.
don't need to like feel creative in order to stick the frickin' button on the frickin' sales page. Like, it's the easiest thing. And so it makes it a lot easier to get shit done. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, one of the things in several months ago, I had someone that I was interviewing, and she was a former client of mine, and oh my goodness, she did not want to plan like that. She's like, oh my God, no, that feels so restrictive. And I just said, I'm just going to challenge you. Try it for 1 month. If you don't like it, you can scrap it. But if you love it,
1 month is long.
Yeah, I know it is. It is. She's like, oh,
a
Flora,
long
you're
time.
killing me. But she found so much freedom in actually breaking stuff down. So what freedom did you find in actually breaking stuff down like that for your, life and your business?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think the initial reaction is, if I get too specific, then I'm going to be bored out of my mind and I'm going to do all this work that I hate. Like, I hear that all the time. And I get that. Like, I actually do get that. But I think there's two kind of aspects to it. The first part of the freedom is that you actually have white space in your calendar. And like, that's the reason most of us started a business in the first place, is because we wanted freedom. And you're like working yourself into the ground because you're like just throwing spaghetti at walls or whatever. So
Yes.
It's very freeing. Yeah, it's very freeing to you're so much fun. I love how you're like constantly laughing. So it's very freeing to like be able to like see how much time you actually need to get done, and to like take time off and go have fun. It's like, did you read the book? I don't actually have the book, but I have the calendar. My brother gave it to me for Christmas because he's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
You Are a Badass. I don't even know who wrote it.
Love that book. Yes.
The quote yesterday, honest to God, the quote yesterday was like, when you have, did I save it or did I throw it away? It's like yeah, here it is. There's nothing worse than time wasted pretending to do work or stressing out while trying to have fun. no work gets done and no fun is had. It's the worst of both worlds. Figure out how much time you truly need to get the job done and go do something else until the clock starts ticking. How like
Nice.
appropriate was that?
That's perfect.
Sorry, off script, totally. But
No,
anyway, yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
like you have time, you can like how much time you need, so you can like put white space in, and it's like you don't have to wait until you arrive at your goal, in order to start enjoying all the benefits of being at your goal. One of the biggest benefits being time freedom. Yeah.
Yes. Preach
Awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The second though element is that because the other thing that I often hear is people going, well, I won't be able to be like creative because it'll be
Oh,
so restricted. I won't be able to change. But there's kind of two aspects to that as well. The first is, for me and for most of my clients and friends, is you're basically a one person shop, and if you're not, if you have people underneath of you, you're still the producer. You're still like
yeah.
kind of the overseer and the creator behind everything. So you can still change things on a dime. Like I
Yes.
know like huge businesses like mentors of mine and stuff like that have like teams of like 10 or 15 or 20 people, and they still change on a dime. Like they
Yep.
do it all the time. So you have that power. And then the other thing is that like, I think part of the thing is that, what really sort of the resistance to getting that specific is you're actually kind of scared that it's more than you think or less than you think. So when you really do kind of outline what it is, there's no games played. You really like, what you need to get done in order to actually achieve what you want to achieve. And that's freeing. It's better to know.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that's like really hard to explain if you don't do it. If you do it, then you're going to see that it's like, yes, absolutely. It's so much better to know.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Well, and some people, and I absolutely agree with what you said, is about some people think that detailing everything down is really restrictive, and it's actually not, because I'm really creative and really intuitive, and I want to be very woo woo in my business. Well, I am all about that. But the thing is that when you have that list of things at the bottom that you have to do, you can intuitively move through each of this. Like, what do I feel like doing today? And
Absolutely.
it's literally, this is
Yeah.
the next step. And it's so simple. I love that you conveyed that, because, yeah, it's just so true. And it does give you that white space. It does give you that freedom to go, yeah, I think I'm just going to watch a movie right now, and then I'm going to go do this.
I did that yesterday.
Yes.
Totally did that yesterday. I was like, bye, and closed the computer, and I went and watched the movie. But the other thing is that if you don't, here's the thing, is that like, we want to be really creative, and we're really creative people, and we kind of recognize that genius and those good ideas in ourselves, whether we say it out loud as genii or not. But the thing is that like, I'm like a big fan of like classical music. And so I think of like Mozart. If Mozart hadn't sat down, and I realize he has his own issues, okay? But if he hadn't sat down and actually gotten shit done, like no one would have ever known he was a genius. So like, it's cool that you want to be creative and you want to be free and all this kind of great stuff, but if you don't get that done, you won't have that legacy.
Yeah. Well,
And that's so important.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that, because that lasting legacy is one of the reasons why most of us are in business. The money is a fabulous byproduct of our genius, but you have to be able to sit down and be willing to do the work. Now, another thing that I love that you said is that you just have to take the time and sit down to do it. And that's the thing, is that I have several tools here in the Planning Posse, and one of them is a blog, content creation worksheet, where you sit down and you figure out who your target audience is for this year, what your main focuses are for each quarter, and then you actually write down 12 to 14 topics that you can talk or blog about or whatever that you can create content about for the entire year. And this is something that, I've had so many people say, oh my God, this is the best hour I've spent on my business ever, because it gives you so much freedom. But you have to be willing to take the time and sit down and invest in yourself, in your business, in your future, to actually sit and plan that out. And I love that you basically shared the same thing, is that you just have to sit down and create that pyramid of, okay, this is my end result, these are all the steps needed, and boom, and then literally you can just have that freedom to say, okay, today I'm going to do this, today I'm going to do that. And you recognize that you need that white space, and you recognize how much freedom this is bringing you, so that you really can get shit done,
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yay!
absolutely. And I think it's like a sense of deciding that your business, and let's be frank, like dreams actually are worth it. Because a lot of times if you're not making the time, if you're not prioritizing it, there's a part of you that doesn't think it's like worth anything.
Right.
There's probably a part of you that's doubting whether your dream actually has value, or whether, you're good enough to do this, or some sort of seed of doubt. Because when you honest to God believe that this has purpose and value, you will make the time for it. You will prioritize it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you. So this brings us to the next point, which is so fluid, is when you have that freedom and flexibility and you also have those clear-cut goals, one of the things that creates in my life anyway is harmony, because I don't feel like I'm constantly pushing and I'm constantly on this like strict deadline. It's like, oh no, I've got this white space, I have this freedom, and yet I'm still getting stuff done in my life. So how has this created harmony in your life as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think I said it creates white space, but I think the biggest thing is that you can close work because you can see where your work's actually going.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Because
yes.
When you kind of just like do stuff because, you heard that Pinterest was really important, so you try to scramble to like do Pinterest. That's the one I hear the most often. And I love making fun of it because I don't actually do Pinterest.
Me neither.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But anyway, so like, when you're scrambling and you're not sure on like how each task is actually getting you to where you want to be, it's just clutter and you feel like you can always work,
Yep.
So it creates harmony for me because I can see where things are going and I can know, and you can kind of like release that need, that desperation, and trust that the stuff you did do today is actually getting you somewhere. And you can kind of see where it goes. Because you could like literally always do more work. Like you could, always do more work. It's like studying or relaxing. Like when again, like back to, college or whatever, I would be the person that would start studying the night before. But sometimes I'd be like, I should really start studying a week before or 2 weeks before or something. And I would do it, but I wouldn't feel any more prepared because there's always more studying to do. Right?
Yep.
It's like that in business. There's always more you could do, but if you keep thinking that way, then you're never going to take a break.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And you'll also probably never be satisfied because you haven't defined your goal, you haven't defined arrived. So you could keep working and working and working, and you won't notice when you've gotten to your goal because you haven't been specific about what that was.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, and that creates a lot of busy work, not being specific with your goals. So much busy work, and that's where you're just spinning, and you're like, oh my God, where you're working 60 hours a week and you're still only getting paid like you're working 20, It's like,
I heard somebody recently say that to-do lists and getting shit, she actually said this, and I was kind of like, I have a course called Get Shit Done, don't say that, but she was completely right, because she was like, sometimes for us, getting shit done is actually just a bomb to make you feel better, because you're not feeling clear and giving yourself space to be creative with your ideas and goals. And I was like, that is so true. That is so true, because it's the same way you say busy work. What I say is like, a lot of times I say, your to-do list is cluttered with stuff that's not getting you to where you want to go.
Yep.
So like, it's better to know where you want to go and to do that. And it completely creates harmony. Absolutely. Like I used to work, honest to God, until like 10 or 11 at night, every night. Mm-hmm. And I saw somebody recently posted on Facebook, and this is a fairly successful person, and she goes, 11 p.m., should I keep working or whine? And I was like, what are you doing working at 11 p.m.? Close the computer. Talk about balance in your life.
Walk away from the computer.
You deserve a break. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe they need our courses.
Maybe. Come join the planning posse, girl. I don't know what's going on.
No kidding.
But yeah, I think the best way to like get harmony, and the best way that I do it is honestly, you have to prioritize it. You have to decide it's as important as your business. So the same way you have to trust that your dreams and business has got purpose. Your life has purpose beyond your business, and so you have to make time for that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love it. That is so near and dear to my heart too, because it's just like because I'm a mom as well, and I've got fur babies as well. But I mean, it's just like when I started my business years ago, my kids were tiny. And that was the thing, is that I wanted to be home for them and work from home, and all this other stuff. And I had to create that balance. I had to create that harmony, and I had to create that freedom and flexibility. And having those priorities and those clear-cut goals helped eliminate all that busy work and helped me really be able to, find that balance in my life and find that harmony and be able to get shit done.
Absolutely.
And say, okay, they're napping. I've got 2 hours. Let's do this,
Yeah. And it's why you're in business in the first place. Like if you lose sight of, the fact that you wanted freedom to be with your freaking kids, then like, what's the point? You could have just gone and gotten a regular job and been home and, shut the computer at a certain time, So, yeah. The other thing that I do, and I don't know if you, are a proponent of this, and I keep looking in the distance, just so you know, my bed is actually right over there, and that's what I'm actually looking at.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it because this is what I was about to say, is that every morning I have, like, my morning routine, and I think it's probably one of the most valuable things in the day because, sometimes we skip that stuff.
Yes.
You skip the goal setting or you skip the planning because you're like, my time would be better spent actually getting stuff done. But if
Right.
you don't sit down and get that clarity and like emotional energy or whatever, then you actually can't get stuff done. So the hour that you think you saved by not having your morning routine, you just wasted 4 of because you're totally
Yes.
distracted and confused.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So
So
prior.
in the planning posse, one of the things that we have, and I've got my little planner right here, and I know this doesn't look like
Nice.
much, but this is my yearly plan. This is my
So
whole year.
colorful.
Yeah. But one of the things that we have like our year at a glance. And so, where we can like literally glance at the year, and then we glance at the month, and we glance at our 90-day action plan. And so every single, and that's one of the things that I'm a huge proponent of. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Is before you even start working, you can open your laptop, boot it up, but then look at that sheet and say, what is my true goal for this year? And it's literally at a glance, your year at a glance, and then your 90 days, and then your month, and then, okay, this is my action item list for today. And you're so prepared. And that is so true. You save hours by just spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. It's so huge. Yay. Yep. See?
There's mine.
Huge. It's so
You're
huge
so
because,
right.
that gives you even more freedom because then you can stay focused. Because sometimes we wake up, we've had random dreams, or we slept hard, or we didn't sleep at all, and we're like, holy crap, I need coffee. Oh my God, I can't adult today. And then all of a sudden you sit down and you're like, shit, I have to be productive? What the hell? And
what
then
do I even do? And then you waste an hour trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And you're like, where this takes the guesswork, you're like, okay, add the button to the sales page. I can do that.
For those hard days.
Yes, I love it. Then there's other days where we hit the ground running. We're like, I got this. Let's do this. You're done by 2:00. It's fabulous,
Yeah.
Other days, not so much.
And the thing is like to not beat yourself up for those days because all of those days, plus the creative days and the not so creative days, like all of those days come.
Yes.
And it's normal and it's fine. Just anticipate them and be ready for them because that way when they do come, you at least have something that you can keep moving forward and keep showing up. Even if like it takes you, I have days where like it takes me like 2 or 3 times as long to like actually get the thing done that on like a normal day.
Yeah.
It would take me like 20 minutes. Right. And so like everyone has days like that and it's fine, but it's, think of it as like just a temporary contraction and, have your little list of simple things that you do on those kind of days.
Yep. Oh my gosh. I absolutely agree with you. And I love that you said that because, it's one thing to hear it from one person, but then to hear it from multiple people are like, okay, this is normal. This is good. Okay.
It's not just Flora. It's me too.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like, because sometimes, people are just like, God, Flora, is this normal? I'm like, oh God, absolutely. We all have those days. The ebb and flow, like, with solar eclipses and lunar eclipses and new moons and full moons and all these other random things that happen. It's like, oh my God, really? Mercury retrograde. You're like, oh my God. So all that stuff, plus, if you got the, like your time of the month or the kids aren't sleeping or your spouse or, all just life
Absolutely.
being as messy as it is.
Things happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Oh yeah. And that's one of the things that so many people think that, oh, well, I'm thrown off today and then, this is going to ruin the rest of my week. No, you just start fresh. Every day is a brand new day. Every day you can regroup, even in the middle of a day. If you just feel like, oh my God, today is shot. No, you can go for a walk, watch a movie, and then start over and say, okay, what can I do today to finish today strong? And it could be just doing one or two things. Or just saying, what, I'm just going to regroup and start fresh tomorrow. So,
and to not make yourself wrong for it. I find a lot of times we tend to think that, obviously it's a sign that I suck, or obviously it's a sign that like I'm not capable of this, or I'm not an expert, or I chose the wrong career, or I chose the wrong goal, or it doesn't mean any of that. So, just stop making yourself wrong. It's really just a challenge more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and it's those challenges that bring us to those places where we learn so much about ourselves. We learn so much about our business, about what we're really made of. And so that actually brings us to the next question is, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned in this kind of whole planning journey that you've had?
I feel like there's probably a couple. So the first, actually just, I'm going to segue off that for a second. The first one is something that somebody told me once, one of my mentors, and he said, what did he say? He said, any time. Actually, it's in a book. You could find the book. It's called The Daily Love by
Hmm.
Mastin Kipp. But
Oh
anyway, he says
yeah,
that
I love him.
I love him, right? Isn't he
Yes.
great? But he says any like mishap, I forget how exactly he phrases, but any mishap is actually just an opportunity for awakening. It's just the universe calling you to awareness. So when
Yes.
something goes wrong, again, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you're probably not going quite in the right direction. And the
Hmm.
universe is actually doing you a favor and saying, stop what you're doing, take a look, and let's tweak it a little bit. So that's one big thing. Um,
Nice.
the second thing, though, I mean, I've said it already, but this is so, so, so valuable, is that honestly, your dreams have purpose and value, and that the
Hmm.
reason that you're doing your business is probably because you have a big dream,
Yes.
and you need to act like it. So, if you're feeling like, or if I definitely felt like this in my life, that the dream didn't have purpose and value, whether it's because somebody told me once, actually verbatim, that it had no purpose,
Oh.
where, people have like stories about like why they don't think it's valuable. So if you're having a hard time prioritizing something, then take a look at what you actually believe about yourself and your business, because your dreams do have purpose and value. And if you're having a hard time prioritizing it, you probably don't quite believe that just yet.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
absolutely
And,
agree.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then the second thing that I noticed, or that I've learned, is that, like procrastination or like not getting shit done is usually just fear. It's usually whenever I notice, I'm a big, and I say this to my clients and I say it on Facebook all the time, so you probably have heard me say it, but my biggest procrastinator tool is Sudoku on my phone. Uh, I like constantly, like whenever I like go to like play Sudoku, I like go, wait a second, what am I avoiding? And it's almost always the same thing. It's almost always actually responding to an email where someone inquired about my services. For some
Hmm.
reason, when people actually reach out to me, I'm like, oh, okay, Sudoku. And it's usually just like a super biggest reaction. So if you notice yourself procrastinating, it's usually a fear. So figure out what the fear is and get over it. And then the last thing, is that really successful people are the ones that show up every day, even when they don't feel like it.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. Yes, yes, yes. Well, I want to add one thing is that one of the
Do.
things that helps me is when I feel like, oh, Sudoku, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, why am I even in business? Why am I? And I always bring myself back to my why. And that realigns me with my mission. And I know that it's not about me, it's about me being of service to them. And and ego loves to keep us stuck where we're at, and that's why it's like ego's like, let's play Sudoku, let's play Yahtzee, or let's
Absolutely.
go do this and do that.
Absolutely.
But my spirit is like, why are you even in business? And it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm on a mission, so I need to get over myself and just be of service to this person.
Absolutely. Get over yourself. I love that. Get over
Yes.
your fear. Fear can be such a selfish thing if you give into it.
Yes. Oh my
It's
God, that is
incredibly
so
selfish.
true.
Yeah, it's incredibly selfish. And the other thing is that like, if you don't take the action that's like you're stopping, you're not going to get this stuff done. And
Yep.
you're going to get to the end of the year and you're going to be like, man, another year I failed at.
Yep.
You don't
Yeah.
deserve any more of that shit. Like, get it done.
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely get it done. You have places you really want to be in December, so you have to
Yes.
like respond to that freaking email.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just love it. Well, this has been so freaking amazing. So tell all of our viewers how they can connect with you outside of this interview, anything and everything that you have to offer.
First, you have to like do a dance party.
Yep.
I only choose
Woohoo,
people with
dance
dance parties. No, I was
party.
kidding. Well, you can head over to my website at sarahelizabethlahoud.com. Again, it's not spelled like a hood on your head. That's just the way that I go about pronouncing it. It's spelled the way you actually said
I'm
it.
so
So you're
sorry that
not
I
wrong.
mispronounced.
I'm so sorry. I actually made that joke and I was being completely sarcastic. And I realized my sarcastic face is a little bit straight.
No.
So don't worry at all.
It's
Don't worry at all.
all good.
I get called Lahoud. Sometimes people spell it with like a capital H because they think it's French, and then I've gotten like double O's and all sorts of things. It's the weirdest last name. Anyway, so yeah, so you can find me at sarahelizabethlahoud.com, and actually I do have a course called Get Shit Done over there. So it teaches exactly the system that I said, and I basically walk you through how I do it, how I do it with my clients. It's the same system I use with everyone, so you can make that pyramid with me
Nice.
if you want to. And then finally, just for you guys, I'd really love to offer, if anyone wants to talk their thing out with me and get some clarity around your goals and where you're going in business strategy specifically, I'd love to offer some free one-on-one coaching sessions with me. So you can go over to my website and if you click booking, you can find a time that works for you and do that with me as well. So
Woohoo! Yay! Awesome. Well, and all the links. Woohoo!
dance,
Dance
everybody.
party. Well, all the links that you mentioned, I will have listed below this video. I'll actually post all your Instagram, all of your social media things so that everybody can connect with you outside of this, because as I've always said, the more of us that are doing this work, the more of us that are spreading our love and our knowledge and our legacy, the easier it is for everybody. And
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you
Energy.
so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
out of your busy schedule to come
you
and
for
share
having
your
me.
knowledge and your awesomeness with us.
Thank you. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Yay. Any last words?
Get shit done.
Yes.
Get shit done. Go have a very productive day.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And for all of you in the planning posse, please be sure to click all the links below and connect with Sarah outside of this interview. She's absolutely amazing. I'm so proud to call her my colleague and my friend. And I look forward to seeing you here next month for your next bonus interview. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.